What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg, flying solo today here in our beautiful Ledgewood location. Today's topic I wanted to touch on, it's something that's been on the docket for me for a little while. It's not super earth-shattering supplements. However, I know that I get a lot of questions now that I'm running a couple locations on supplementation. And frankly, the supplement industry is pretty wild and there's a lot out there. And so I wanted to just chunk down, okay, what's the best bang for your buck for the average person, you know, not your bodybuilder, your CrossFit athlete, your hardcore high rocks athlete. It's like, hey, I'm an everyday person. What's the most bang for my buck when it comes to supplementation? So first thing, before we get into that, I would want to touch on supplements in general are exactly that, guys. They're supplemental. Okay. So I want to encourage you guys not to fall into the trap of like, oh yeah, I take this supplement, that supplement. But it's like your lifestyle stinks. You know, I don't think my wife will mind me using this example, but I'll never forget going to visit her grandfather, and on top of the fridge, he had bottles upon bottles of like fish oil and this vitamin and this vitamin and that vitamin. And it's like, and listen, Gramps was a great guy, but he ate horribly. And so it's like, hey man, maybe instead of all the supplements you're spending money on, how about we start with lifestyle? So yeah, did want to emphasize that. So first thing is good diet, lifestyle habits have to come first. Now, assuming you got that dialed in, supplements can be helpful, right? Now, I do want to frame that as well. It's not going to be something where it's like, you got everything dialed in and then all of a sudden I'm going to add 20 pounds of muscle in a year because I'm taking whey protein, right? It's not that, but it is helpful to continue to push the envelope forward towards your goals. So what I did was I kind of made a list of supplements that are going to be the most helpful. And then I'll also touch on briefly supplements out there that is like, there's no need for anyone to be taking, frankly. So the first one I wanted to touch on was creatine. Creatine, guys, is the most studied supplement on the market. There was a study years ago that I remember because I was a wrestler that would get referenced by people like, oh, there was a bunch of college wrestlers, they were cutting weight, they were drinking creatine, and they died, and so creatine is not good for you. When in reality, they've since gone back and realized there was a lot of holes in that study. The creatine those guys were taking had also stimulants in it. And then on top of it, they were completely sucked out in a sauna, working out. And so there was a lot of factors to that. And since then, people have been like, okay, maybe that wasn't the causal factor, right? But creatine in general is something that's super, super helpful. And a lot of the studies out there, I know Coach Nast recently posted some things on her Instagram about creatine and how I think it was for women or track athletes specifically and how helpful it can be. And so there's really not a person out there that shouldn't be taking creatine. Like if there's someone who's like, hey, these are my goals. My goal is weight loss or muscle gain or whatever. Should I be taking creatine? The short answer is yes. Now, can everyone... The degrees to which people can benefit from creatine is varied. I know I had an exercise science teacher in college who basically framed it like your muscles can store a certain amount of phosphocreatine, and without doing a muscle biopsy, there's no way to really tell how much of it you're storing. And so, taking some creatine can help top that off. And there's also some brain benefits. I'm going to get into all that as well. And so if you're someone who's like at the upper level of that already, just naturally, that creatine supplement is going to do maybe a little bit of benefit, but not nearly as much as someone who's much less. And so you really don't know where you're at, but universally the studies have shown that taking creatine can help. So broadly, and I'm just going to kind of read off my notes, broadly, to get a little nerdy, there's a chemical in our muscles called ATP. And essentially what that does is facilitate the energy needed for muscle contraction. So phosphocreatine is a chemical that's present in the process to help replenish ATP to allow for continued contraction. So ATP initiates the contraction. That chemical needs to be replenished in order for continued contraction. If you have easy and instant access to phosphocreatine, that allows for quicker ATP regeneration. And so the premise is that taking creatine will help boost the presence of free creatine in the system, which will bolster that process. So to pull it back and be less nerdy, having free access to creatine can allow for quicker quicker energy, for lack of a better term, to be put into the muscle for more contractions. So essentially what that does is it helps with muscle growth, helps with muscle repair. There's also been some references out there recently. I believe this is what NAST even references, that it can help with brain clarity. And so creatine is something I take. Creatine is something that anyone who, again, has goals within the industry around their health and fitness should take. I know we interviewed Andre from member at Roseland not too long ago. And, Andre's a doctor in anesthesiology, so he's not, in a health and exercise science, but he's someone who even admitted like he's had to do a lot of research and self-reflection on how his body works. And he's like, I recommend creatine to everyone. So this isn't even something that I'm saying. It's pretty common knowledge at this point that creatine is super, super helpful. And out of all the supplements out there, honestly, even more than like a protein supplement, which I'll get to in a second, if someone was like, I have enough money and bandwidth to spend on one supplement, what would it be? My recommendation would be creatine.
Another thing with creatine too. Hi, this is JJ.
This is JJ. Hello, JJ.
Hi. Creatine, a lot of people will take it and then stop taking it after a while because they don't see the results. The biggest thing with creatine is that when you take it at first, you're going to see massive results. Not massive. You're going to see the most amount of results because your body goes from not having as much to all of a sudden having more of it. And what creatines really do is it's water weight. It's taking water, putting it directly into your muscles, which makes your muscles feel big. You get a bigger pump. Your lifts are going to be much more than what they were before. They're going to increase a little bit. I say much more. I mean like a little bit.
Right. This is not steroids.
It's not steroids. It's not going to.
But in the grand scheme of things, JJ, it's like, and I'll let you finish. It's like if you're adding 5 pounds, that's actually, depending on how much you lift. Like if you're lifting 300 pounds and all of a sudden you could pack on 5 to 10 more because you have proper supplementation through creatine, that's a big deal.
Yeah, no, that's still massive. It's still, that's why I keep saying like a massive jump, because I think 5 pounds is still like a massive jump for like if you're maxing out. But that's the biggest thing with creatine too, is that a lot of people, they take it, they get the results that they're looking for, and then they will keep taking it, keep taking it, and then it just kind of like plateaus a little bit, and then they stop taking it. And then they start to see that they're starting to fall off again. And then when they start taking it again, they're not getting the same. Like they're not jumping as big as they were. And that's just how creatine is. So it's good to keep taking it consistently, but you can't expect it to always help you like blow up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's kind of similar to like your noob gains in the gym. Like if you're new, you make these massive jumps, and then when you've been there for a while, you can't make the same massive jumps.
But it's great for maintenance. It's also for maintenance. Like I can guarantee you, every single person, every single athlete, every CrossFit athlete, every single professional athlete takes creatine every single day. Yeah. And you can't take like, I think it was recommended like 20 grams a day, if that.
Yeah. So most of what I've read is like 5 grams a day should be good. There's some athletes that'll take more. I actually was on a mission trip recently with a guy who creatine helps with his sleep. And he's like, yeah, I read a study that could help with your sleep. So we were pretty sleep deprived. So he upped it to like 20 grams to like help like him feel sleepy and stuff like that. So you can go higher, but yeah, I wouldn't go above that.
Yeah, you're not supposed to go much higher too, because your body can only process a certain amount.
Exactly.
It's like 5 grams. Like I think I take 5 grams. I take like 2 little tablets. I think it's about 5 grams a day. Because if you start taking more of that, then it just goes straight through your system.
Yep.
Like your body does not.
It becomes expensive pee at that point.
It does. That's exactly what it is.
Cool. So the next thing I got in there is protein supplementation. Now, to provide some clarity around that, your body does not need a protein supplement. Your body needs enough protein, right? And so the reason why we recommend protein supplementation, there's a lot out there about like an anabolic window and you need to get protein in 20 minutes after your workout, this, that, and the other thing. Honestly, guys, again, if you're not a bodybuilder, there's no need to even worry about that. That's like getting into the weeds and worrying about the littlest minute details. Anabolic window, whatever, you don't need to worry about that. It's really getting enough protein. So if I need to get 150 grams of protein in a day to hit my goals, it doesn't matter when I get it in if I'm not getting that, right? And so the goal is to get enough protein. The reason why protein shakes can be a great addition is because for most people, we're busy, right? And for most people, they don't realize how much food 150 to 160 grams of protein is. You start to eat and you're like, dang, I'm really full. And most people don't realize protein is part of what satiates you. And so all of a sudden you're getting full and you feel like you're having to stuff your face. And so being able to add in a protein supplementation is an easy way on the go to get that extra protein in.
And notice how he's saying add in.
Yeah.
Add in is the key word there, because you should be eating your protein.
Yes.
Try as hard as you can to eat your protein. And then the protein shakes, protein bars, protein smoothies are just kind of like it's adding in.
Correct.
Right? It's like, oh, I need 20 more grams of protein today. Let me just have a quick protein shake to help me get to my goal.
Exactly.
Because if you're relying on it, you're
and it happens.
You're going to be in the bathroom all day.
Or just like,
gonna happen.
It's like all of a sudden, it's like if all your protein's coming from shakes, it's like you're hungry, and it's like, yeah. So it's 100% right. It should be added in. Now, the way it helps is protein is a macronutrient that helps with muscle recovery. It also helps with a lot of processes in your body. Protein shakes are an easy and consistent way to make sure you're getting enough protein, and they're pretty easily absorbable. So that's why a lot of it is like recommending a whey protein isolate, is because it's pretty pure whey protein, which is a dairy protein. So listen, if you're someone who struggles with dairy, whey is not going to be the way to go, right? You're going to have to find an alternative option. But the reason why whey is so big is because it is easily absorbable in the body. The other thing is the protein in the supplement industry is super saturated. And so now that we've nailed down, okay, hey, it's a supplement and it is super helpful, but it's not to replace food necessarily. The question is like, well, what protein supplementation is good to go? The number of people I've talked to that's like, well, I just get like what's at the grocery store. And listen, that's easy, but the reason why it's at the grocery store is because it's really mass produced, right? And so what I tell people is if you're going to look at a protein, there's a couple things to look at. And this is a conversation I have with every challenger. One is look at the calories, not because we're trying to stay super low cal, but I've had people mistake a meal replacement shake for a protein shake. And then all of a sudden they don't understand why they're putting on weight. And it's because you have a mass gainer. You're drinking a shake that's 500 calories. So look at the calories. Most good whey proteins are going to range anywhere from about 100 to 150 calories. If it's significantly more than less than that, it's probably not a good option. Second thing is the carb and fat content. Most good protein shakes are going to have very little carb and very little fat content, all right? Because again, that's going to help with the absorption. Fat absorbs way slower than protein or carbs. And so you want to make sure that you're getting a pure protein whey isolate to be able to absorb quickly. And again, post-workout, you do want to get carbs in, but that would be a great time to get in like fruit, right? The fructose in fruit is absorbed relatively quickly as well. The third thing you're going to want to look at is the protein content. Most good proteins are going to range anywhere from about 20 to 30 grams of protein per serving. Significantly more than that, as JJ said, when it comes to creatine, it's hit or miss on whether it's all going to get absorbed, right? Again, if you have a mass gainer because it's like you're looking to put on size, that 50 to 60 grams of protein in that shake, unless you're sipping it over the course of a couple hours, it's probably all not getting absorbed. But if it's less than 20 grams of protein, it's not really enough to really give you the extra boost of protein that you're looking at. So that's kind of where you're going to want to sit. From there, you're also going to want to look at the ingredient list. So just like regular food, well, not regular food, but like food you buy in the aisles, let's say. The longer the ingredient list, the more words you don't understand or can read, the more preservatives it is, right? Now, full disclosure, if you think whey protein's not highly processed, you're not thinking straight. It's of course highly processed, right? And so that's why, again, we emphasize whole regular foods over supplements. But the more ingredients you have on the list, the more additives and preservatives that protein most likely has. And then the last thing you're going to want to look at is try to find a protein that has some sort of third-party company certifying that what is on the label is in the protein. Now, that's not like a be-all and end-all, right? Because they don't test every single tub, right? They might test a couple tubs per batch. But the supplement industry is kind of the Wild West. It's not regulated by the FDA. And so a supplement company, in order to certify that what is in their tubs is actually, or what's on the food label is actually in the supplement, they have to pay a third party company to test it. And the key word there is pay. So not every supplement company is paying for a third party to certify their supplements. So a very common one is Informed Sport, right? And their main goal is to make sure there's no banned substances in the supplement that you're taking. You know, the classic CrossFit athlete excuse for failing a drug test is like, well, I was taking this pre-workout from Venezuela and I don't know what happened. JJ's chuckling, but it's like, dude, around 2017 to 2020, like the number of people that got popped and then referenced like this, I was just taking this blue shake because it was delicious and I got a crazy pump. Like,
what do you mean what I'm doing is not legal?
Right.
I got this random shake from a guy in an alley. Yeah. And it helped me gain 30 pounds of muscle.
Right. That happened all the time. But even a great example, and I'll get back to the protein, is like when I was in college, there was this pre-workout called Jacked 3D. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of that.
Yeah. So when it first burst on the scene, I had a guy on the wrestling team who's like, dude, you got to try this. Like my lifts have gone through the roof. And I had never taken pre-workout. And I was like, all right, you're super strong. And I'm like a sophomore. Like I'll give this a shot. And I remember my lifts. I remember going into the weight room. First of all, my skin felt like it was melting off of my face. And I was like, oh, what is happening? But I remember lifting and feeling like, I think I'm the Terminator. Like, I think like I could lift this entire weight room. Well, lo and behold, we go to every college sport, I'm sure you had it, does a meeting before the year, like a banned substance meeting. Here's the list. Make sure this isn't in your system. If you get popped, you could miss time or get suspended or whatever. And I remember seeing this substance that there was like, I don't remember the exact thing. It was like 1,3-dimethyl something or other. Common places to find it, Jacked 3D. And I was like, oh, I've been taking that. And when I did the research, because then I started to Google it, it was like, yeah, it's a precursor to the methamphetamines, which is why you can't feel things. It's like, oh my gosh. So then this is common in supplement industry. Jacked 3D, which was super popular at that time, then released their new formula. Hey, new formula, even better than the old one. And all they did was pull the illegal substances out. But what happens is they'll release, these supplement companies at least used to, and I'm not as in-depth in it as I used to be, but it's like they would release this supplement that had maybe something that was like a precursor or something like that. People would get crazy results. Then they would pull the banned substance out, call it a new formula. They'd reap the rewards of all the sales. And then people would be like, what the heck? Like this doesn't work as well. So that was an aside.
I think moral of the story is if it's too good to be true, it's
probably
not legal.
Yeah. So again, you'll want to find a protein that has that Informed Sport or something, third-party organization certifying it. Now, to be fair, and I'm not doing this podcast to boost what we're doing, but that's one of the reasons why we partner with Raw is their protein boasts all of those things. And so if you are interested, talk to your general manager because they'll be able to go over all those aspects with you on the protein. But to put it into a bow, that's why protein can be super, super helpful. Again, assuming you have all your other, everything else dialed in with your nutrition. Okay. Next thing I got on there is, and to be fair, guys, I'm going to go over like 4. Those two, so creatine and protein, are far and away, like if you're going to, they're far and away more beneficial than the next ones I'm going to recommend. Third one I'm going to say is an omega-3. Now, the biggest thing with omega-3s or fish oils is they're super helpful with inflammation. With the style of training we do in our gyms, and again, I'm 100% biased, so let's be clear. I think it's the most effective to get to the results that most people want. Lean muscle mass, a leaner body, athletic look, the style of training we do is going to be the best way for you to get there. However, we do work out hard. And so anytime you're going to work out relatively hard, there's going to be some sort of inflammation that occurs because your body has to heal. And so being able to bring on an omega-3 fatty acid, an omega-3 supplementation can help buffer some of that inflammation. Now, again, if people have regular input of certain fishes and seafood in their diet, you're getting a good amount of omega-3 fatty acids in your diet. You probably don't need an omega-3 supplementation, but most people don't. And so that's where an omega-3 can come in to help. It can also contribute to brain and eye development. It It can also help with fight off things like heart disease and decline in brain function. And so there's a lot of good stuff out there for omega-3s. But again, it's because of the effects that an omega-3 fatty acid can have on your body. And so eating certain fishes and seafood, if you're consistent with that, can really give you most of what you need. But again, most of us don't do that. And so getting an omega-3 supplement can help with that. Next one is a multivitamin. And I heard, I forget the guy's name. I'm blanking on it now. Dr. Israel is his last name. He's the RP Strength guy. Super knowledgeable. He's jacked and a doctor. So he's like bodybuilder plus being really smart. And he also recommend with the next one I have, which is a multivitamin. Now he gave the precursor again. For people who have a regular steady diet, you don't need a multivitamin. However, the average American doesn't have that, which is why he recommends a multivitamin. So again, to provide some framework, if you're getting tons of veggies in your diet, you're getting fruit, you're getting enough meat in your diet to meet your protein needs, you are getting regular sunlight, all those things, you don't need a multivitamin. The sunlight's a big one too. Like, we're in the Northeast, it's getting kind of chilly. I don't know about JJ, but I sit in an office all day long, even though I work in the fitness industry. And so it's like, getting sunlight, if you don't work it into you're like, almost like you block it out in your schedule to get outside, it's not going to happen. And so do that. But again, that's where a multivitamin can come in to help. So it can help maintain already healthy hormone levels, support estrogen and testosterone metabolism, which can minimize bloating. They can also just simply make sure our bodies are getting the necessary vitamins and minerals we need for optimal body, mind, and immune system function. So again, they can be helpful for people who maybe are struggling on the dietary side. If you're getting all your dietary needs, getting outside in the sunlight, it might not be necessary. But again, most people aren't doing that. Those are the 4 big ones. I have like an honorable mention, which is like a green supplement. We have a green supplement we carry with Raw. Again, if you're someone who struggles with veggies, or I know people are like, with breakfast specifically, they're like, I struggle to get veggies, or they're picky eaters. That green supplement can be super helpful to make sure, again, you're getting the vitamins and minerals that you need from vegetables. Again, veggies is the way to go. So those are the big ones that I think could be helpful. Some of the ones that, how do I put this lightly? Some of the ones that are not great. The biggest one that so many supplement companies do, that everything I've ever read said it does nothing for you, is BCAAs. BCAAs, the premise of it is BCAA stands for branched chain amino acids. It's a precursor to protein. And the premise that they put out there is you add it into your muscles and it helps with your your body's natural, protein production, right? It does none of that. Everything I've ever heard, whether it be on a podcast, an article I've read, friends in the fitness industry, it is basically I'm spending whatever that tub of branched chain amino acids is, $10, $20, $30, $40, and it is just pee coming out the other end. So any supplement company that boasts their easy absorbable branched chain amino acids, don't buy it. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, and I feel like, and again, this might be maybe naivety around where things are at right now, but I know earlier on when I was in high school and stuff like that, these were huge, were those like thermogenic supplements. So like Hydroxycut. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Please stay away from those, okay? The amount of stimulants that are in those supplements is insane. And basically all it does is it jacks up your heart rate, and the premise is to jack up your metabolism to burn fat. The problem is you come in and work out hard, your body can only handle so much. So please stay away from those thermogenic fat burning supplements. And the last one's not something that I'm saying stay away from, but it is something to be, do your research on, is pre-workouts. So I take a pre-workout. I take a very, I'll say low-end pre-workout. It's an nutrition supplement called Amino Energy. It spits in the face of the first thing I said because it boasts aminos, but I really take it because of the caffeine and beta-alanine. It's each scoop's around 50 grams of protein. So basically, if I take 2-3 scoops, it's equivalent in caffeine to a cup of coffee. Some of the other ones out there, you know, you get when you start to creep into like the 200 milligrams, 300 milligrams of caffeine, you're getting really, really high up there. And so things like, yeah, I know C4 makes like a 300, 400 milligram caffeine pre-workout. There's like Ghost pre-workout and all these pre-workouts. And again, I'm not super knowledgeable on pre-workouts, to be transparent, because I found one that works for me, that gives me a little bit of caffeine boost before my workout, because caffeine can be a performance enhancer. It wakes you up and allows you to push in workouts. But again, we work out hard. And so to take a pre-workout that's like 250, 300, 350, 400 milligrams plus of caffeine, and then go to a conditioning workout, that's why you feel like you can't catch your breath. That's why it feels like your heart's racing more than normal. And so again, I'm not saying that to say, you know, caffeine is bad or pre-workouts can be bad. It's more to say, hey, just be cognizant of what's in your pre-workout, how much caffeine is in it, how much beta-alanine, what else is in there, and if you're gonna use one, be smart about it. You know, we did a sleep episode, right? And so if you're someone who works out at 6 p.m., I hate to break it to you, you probably shouldn't be taking pre-workout, because you're going to work out at 6 p.m. and then try to go to bed at 10, 11 o'clock, and that caffeine is still in your system. You know, I generally work out around somewhere between 1 and 3. I'll take my baby pre-workout at like somewhere between noon to 1:30. And so the half-life by around 9, 10 o'clock at night, most of it is out of my system. And so I don't struggle with sleep. So I know it's just me. I know I kind of rambled for a little bit, but I'm hoping the premise of this episode, guys, is, again, the supplement industry is really big. And when people get into fitness, they want to get into supplementation. And so I wanted to go over a couple of things to make sure you guys had accurate information to make some decisions. So again, to chunk it down, one is address lifestyle first. Do not turn to supplementations before you start to look at things like nutrition, regular exercise, sleep and stress management, and hydration. From there, biggest bang for your buck when it comes to supplementation, 1 is creatine, 2 is a protein supplement, 3 would be a multivitamin, and 3 would be an omega-3. Let's say this, 3 and 4, omega-3 and multivitamin. You could go back and forth on which is 3, which is 4. Honorable mention is green supplements. Biggest supplement to stay away from, just because, not because it's bad for you, but just because it's a waste of money, is branched chain amino acids. And then be careful with things like, and stay away from some of those thermogenic weight burner supplements. And then also just be careful when looking into pre-workouts. Yeah, if you have any other questions on that, guys, feel free to reach out to your general manager. Shoot us a DM on Instagram. We can answer any of your questions. As always, guys, like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram. Give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform you listen on. See you at the gym.